Hi, I'm Yogi Roth, and welcome back to the Pulse of College Football on Fox College Sports. And what a season it has been. The coaching carousel, upsets every weekend, quarterbacks playing great and fantastic finishes. And now, as we sit on the cusp of the bowl season, we got one more game. And it's a game you can't forget, and it's a game you need to watch. It's Army-Navy. And look, we all love rivalries, right? Whether it's USC, UCLA, Pitt and West Virginia in the backyard brawl, Florida, Georgia, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, whoever it may be. But this weekend, this rivalry game is when the players on each team, they don't just say they respect each other, they actually do. And while you sit down on Saturday, there won't be any top 10 draft picks or Heisman candidates or even 1,000-yard rushers. But there will be a lot of All-Americans. This could stand for what it means to be a collegiate football player. You understand the difference between going into a game and going into war. So on Saturday, while we're not at the bowl season just yet, sit back and relax and watch the one game that's on. It's one you're not going to want to miss. This weekend, the biggest award in college football is going to be given out, the Heisman Trophy. And let me tell you, it is one of the most amazing events in the history of sports. I had a chance to go a couple years ago when Reggie Bush won it, and I remember a few years earlier when Larry Fitzgerald lost it. And whether you win or lose, it is a moment that you'll always remember as an athlete. And this year in college football, a lot of players are noteworthy for the Heisman. C.J. Spiller, Kellen Moore, among others. But in my top five Heisman hopefuls are as follows. Number 5. Let's kick it off with Toby Gerhart, the running back out of Stanford. Absolutely dominated the Pac-10 this year, from top to bottom. Every single game, he imposed his will and that tough, old-school running ability that he proved every single weekend. Number 4, Mark Ingram out of Alabama. A fearful running back for all linebackers, anybody who has to tackle him. A bruiser, a big-time prospect in the National Football League, and he only stapled himself as one of the top running backs in the nation with his performance this past weekend in the SEC title game against Florida. Number 3, the Ndamukong Suh, a defensive player, that's right, a defensive tackle out of Nebraska against Texas in the Big 12 Championship, had 4 sacks, 12 tackles, and every single snap, you could just feel the big man's presence. Number 2, a former Heisman Trophy winner, Tim Tebow out of Florida. He has done everything right in college football. He celebrates the game. He is a model for success for any youngster trying to emulate a quarterback at the collegiate level. But at the end of the day, he didn't do enough things to make him a second-time Heisman Trophy winner. Now, my pick for the Heisman, I picked him in the preseason. I'm going to stick with him now. It's Texas quarterback Colt McCoy. From day one at Texas, when he was a true freshman, he learned from Vince Young as he led him to a national championship, to his final game as a Longhorn when he'll go back to Pasadena and play Alabama for the title. Got a chance to work out with him this summer and spend some time with him. He is as good of a kid as he is a player. He can make every throw, has incredible feet, has great intangibles, and look for him in the final game of the season to lead his team to a potential championship. So Colt, congratulations. To start the season, no one could have predicted what happened to USC, Oklahoma, or Georgia, as we pegged them all in BCS bowl games. And no one else could have predicted what happened at Temple, Idaho, SMU, or Wyoming. All 4 of those teams earned bowl berths, and we got to congratulate them as the bowl season is finally upon us. Let's take a look at a few games I'm looking forward to. Oregon State and BYU in Las Vegas is the first bowl I like, and here's why. Sean Canfield, the quarterback for the Beavers, is as efficient a quarterback as you'll find in America. And their tailback, Jacquizz Rodgers, he's as explosive a back as there is in the nation. Now, on the other side, Dennis Pitta, the tight end for BYU. If he can get involved early, look for BYU to pull off the upset against Oregon State. If not, the Beavers and that cover 4 defense are going to shut down the Cougs and get themselves a bowl victory. The next game I like after Christmas is USC and Boston College in the Emerald Bowl up in San Francisco. And let me tell you why I like it. Number 1, everyone's going to say the Trojans won't get up. This is the first time in 7 years they have not played in the BCS bowl game. Let me tell you about something. If you've played the game, after you get hit for that first time in the mouth, it's football. It doesn't matter if it's at the Rose Bowl or up in the Emerald Bowl. You got to play ball. And expect the Trojans and their athleticism to overmatch Boston College, Matt Barkley, to have his best performance and launch the Trojans in 2010. Over the next few days, there's going to be 5 games that I absolutely love. The first one is Texas A&M against Georgia. 2 programs with a ton of history and great prestige. I love A&M and their quarterback, Gerard Johnson. Their offense, they have tempo written all over them, averaging over 80 plays per game. And Georgia, on the other hand, they've got some troubles right now. They've just fired 3 of their defensive assistants and maybe a little short change going into this bowl game in terms of preparation. Either way, this field is going to be full of athletes, but I expect Texas A&M and their tempo offense and that fast break, tight mentality they have to upset the Georgia Bulldogs. The next game I like is Miami and Wisconsin at the Champs Sports Bowl, and here's why. For the Miami Hurricanes, these 15 practices are going to be huge. Quarterback Ja'Cory Harris, he's one of the best young signal callers in the nation. But he needs the extra reps. He needs to work on his footwork, his accuracy, all of the intangibles that will go into making him a Heisman candidate in 2010. I like the Canes in this one. How about Arizona-Nebraska in the Holiday Bowl on the 30th of December? I love this game, and not just because of the matchup between the 2 respective teams. No, I like it because of the 2 respective conferences in this game. The Big 12 and everyone who's a fan of that conference will be watching to see how they do against the Pac-10. And vice versa in the Pac-10, as Arizona has knocked off some big-time teams in the Pac-10 and are knocking on that door for the championship in 2010. My pick, Arizona, and here's why. They're going to utilize the quick game to get away from that big-time pass rush in Nebraska. How about New Year's Eve? I love this game. It's going to be Stanford and Oklahoma. And you might be saying, if you're a Cardinal fan, well, Andrew Luck's hurt. That kind of hurts our chances. Not so fast. You got a backup quarterback in Tavita Pritchard, who used to start for you a few seasons ago. Remember, he beat USC at the Coliseum. He's won a bunch of games in your program, and he's groomed Andrew Luck to be the man that he is right now. But on the other side, you still have Oklahoma and all of the athletes on their roster. And I think if you give their quarterback, Landry Jones, 15 practices to truly hone his skills, he can come out firing in that spread offense. Look for Oklahoma to be explosive and beat Stanford. My 5th favorite game in this early bowl season is going to be Virginia Tech going up against Tennessee. Why? They're 2 defensive coordinators. We've got Bud Foster and Monty Kiffin. 2 coaches have been instrumental in defensive football. But why do I like one team more than the other? Because of the quarterback play. And it's called Jonathan Crompton at Tennessee. He's played well in the last few weeks of the season. Expect him and that Tennessee offense to play better than they have all year long.